Hi and welcome to this Garden Gnome software screencast. This screencast is going to be looking at logic blocks, timers and variables, and what we're going to be doing here is making this animated point hotspot using these tools. Okay, so first thing I need to do then is open up Pano2VR, and you can see here that I've got a 2-node tour already set with point hotspots linking them together. So I'm going to open up the skin editor and I'm going to add my variable. So you just need to click anywhere in the blank area of the canvas for the skin, and you can bring up the skin's properties panel, and then you can add your variable. I'm going to call this HT_Annie for animation. I'm going to set the type to true false, and I'm going to set the initial value to false. Okay, because this is an animation, I want things to happen. I'm going to drive this then with a timer. So I'm select timer and put it into the skin. Now the timer comes with a default logic block set under visible. I'm going to select this and delete it. I don't need it. But what I will look at though is under the timer settings, I'm going to change the time from 5 seconds to half a second. I'm going to have the type as player initialize or init, and I want it to toggle because I want a repeat of the action. Speaking of which, the actions I'm going to be adding here are when the timer is active, I want to set the variable value to equal true, which is default, and then half a second later the timer is going to stop for half a second, so the timer is going to be deactive, or when it's deactivate, set the variable value back to false. So, and again half a second later we're going to activate, so you're going to get the toggling effect. Right, so with that said, I'm going to click on the rectangle tool and add a rectangle to the skin. This is going to make up my hotspot. I'm going to change its size to 32 by 32 pixels. I'm going to deselect the background, I don't need that. We'll be using the border as a visual, so I'm going to make it 2 pixels wide so I can see it. I'm going to set the radius to 999, and I'm going to set the border color to white. Okay, so there is my start of my hotspot graphic. Right, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to set this off so the scale of this is going to be 0.5. So on the X and Y I'm going to make it 0.5, so it's reduced its size by half. Then under the scaling logic block I'm going to say that when HT_Annie equals true, scale it back to 1. So it comes up in size. So if we have a look at that, you'll see that's exactly what it does. So half a second it's active, half a second it's deactive, so therefore the timer is setting the variable to true and false. As it does so, the logic block sets the scaling. There it is. Okay, but I want you to see that happening, so I'm going to go back into the logic block and I'm going to enable the transition, and I'm going to set the transition time for half a second because that's the speed of my animation. So now when we have a look at this, you can see that you'll now see the transition happening with the circle there. Right, okay. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add an alpha. I'm going to set again, use the HT_Annie. When that equals true, I want it to fade out to 0, and because I want to fade, I'm going to set a transition and again timer for half a second. Here we go. So now when we preview this, you'll see not only does it expand or scale up, but as it scales up it fades out. There we go, so that does exactly what I want it to do. Right, so what I'm going to do now is do a keyboard shortcut for copy, and then I'm going to do a keyboard shortcut for paste, and I'm just going to change the ID because I don't want clashing IDs, so I'm going to call this rectangle 2, and I'm going to reverse what we've got here. So instead of starting small and getting bigger, I'm going to make this big, and then under the logic block get smaller, so 0.5 to 0.5. There we go. And the other way around for the alpha, I want it to start off faded out, so let's set alpha to 0, and then when it's true, alpha back to 1, and that should give me exactly what I'm looking for. Here we go, so there's my double pulse for my hotspot image. Right, so to tidy this up then, I'm going to select both of these in the file tree. I'm going to select container and wrap a container around them. I can now call the container HT_image, and I can collapse the container so it's easier to work with. Right, now this is going to be a point hotspot, so I need to grab a hotspot template from the tools, and I'm going to give the hotspot template the usual stuff, like the usual actions. So when I mouse over it, I want to see the cursor turn into a hand, and when we click it, so mouse click, I want it to open the next panorama. I want it to select or use the hotspot URL, and the view I want is going to be the target view as set under the target under hotspot mode. Right, okay, so that's that. Now, one thing I want to say here is the live preview. If I select this, you can see we've got the hotspot, if you like, image now showing. As soon as it becomes a hotspot or a child of the hotspot template, we won't be able to see it. The live preview can't see point hotspots. The only way we're going to do that, so if I just show you that, there you go, it's completely gone. The only way we can actually see them now is if I close, save, and publish the project, open it up, and there is my flashing or animated point hotspot. Okay, cool. I want to show you one other thing, or one other little trick we can do with the logic block whilst we're here. So if I go back to Pano2VR, let's open up the skin editor. Now, under the timer, what we've done is we've used two actions when it's active and deactivated. But what I can do is I can delete the deactivate action, and let's open up the activate one. So activate set variable value, I'm going to change the operation to a not gate. So if it's not false, make it false. If it's false, it's not true. If it's not true, make it true. Basically, this is going to be toggling. So you could use this, if you had this in a button to toggle a true false, you can just click the button and it would toggle between the true and false. And it's the same here. I'm going to use this in the same way, but we're going to be toggling it with the timer. So if I click OK and we preview this, so let's, again, because I can't see it in the live preview, we've got to publish. You'll see that it'll still work now, but what's going to happen is because it's only using the activate, it's going to slow it down. So if we want to have the same speed as before, what I've got to do is go back into the skin, look under the timer, and I've got to increase the timer's speed. So I'll have to double the speed. So let's make it 0.25, and then that will bring me back to the speed we had before. Because I'm only using 1/2 of the toggle of the timer, I need to double that speed to get to where we were. So there we go, we'll publish that out and we're back to square one, as it were, with the hotspot graphic pulsing away. There you go, that's if you like, logic blocks, timers and variables, and thanks for watching.